This video is about she drove to the airport lounge, and a billionaire made her laugh. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. Elena Wright's hands gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles pale against the leather as she navigated the congested streets of downtown Seattle. The late afternoon sun streamed through the windshield, casting playful patterns on her face. She tried to block out the impending sense of doom that seemed to cling to her like a shadow. In just a few short hours, her life would change dramatically. Her mind wandered back to the conversation with her boss, the chilly dismissal that had left her feeling small. "We appreciate your contributions, Elena," he'd said, his voice flat and devoid of warmth. "But we're going in a different direction." The words had stung, but they weren't entirely unexpected. A tech startup was no place for someone who valued stability. As she pulled into the airport lounge parking lot, Elena exhaled sharply, trying to shake off the remnants of her frustration. The lounge was a haven for travelers seeking a moment of respite, an oasis amidst the chaos of flights and delays. She needed to gather her thoughts. The moment she stepped inside, the ambience wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. Soft lighting, the gentle hum of conversations, and the enticing aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped her senses. It felt like a different world, a place where people escape their own realities, if only for a moment. Elena walked towards the barista, offering a polite smile as she ordered a latte, hoping the caffeine would spark some clarity. As she waited, she couldn't help but notice a group of businessmen seated nearby, their laughter echoing through the lounge. They were all sharply dressed, a mix of confidence and rivalry swirling around them, but one man stood out amongst the rest. He leaned back in his chair, a glass of whiskey in hand, his dark hair tousled just enough to suggest he didn't care for perfection. His hazel eyes sparkled with mischief as he animatedly spoke, gesturing with his free hand. She caught snippets of their conversation, the kind of banter that made her heart race, playful jabs and teasing retorts that suggested a deep camaraderie. Elena's gaze lingered a moment too long. Who was he? The man was striking, with a certain charisma that pulled people in. She quickly turned her attention back to the barista, a blush creeping up her cheeks as she chastised herself for being so distracted. With her latte in hand, she found a quiet corner by the window, hoping to gather her thoughts in peace. She pulled out her notebook, flipping to the blank pages that had once brimmed with ideas for her tech blog. Yet now they stood bare, a stark reminder of her uncertainty. The laughter from the group still resonated in the air, and curiously, she found her gaze drifting back to the man. He was now leaning towards one of his friends, his laughter rich and deep, like a melody that lingered in the air. There was something magnetic about him that made it hard for her to look away. "Why don't you join us?" His voice cut through her reverie, smooth and inviting. She blinked, realizing he was looking directly at her, a smile dancing on his lips. "May," she stammered, caught off guard. "Yeah, you look like you could use some company. Unless you're too busy to mingle with mere mortals," he added, a teasing glint in his eyes. She couldn't help but laugh, the tension in her chest easing slightly. "I'm definitely not too busy," she replied, taking a step closer. "Just trying to find inspiration among the chaos." "Ah, a seeker of inspiration," he said, leaning back, intrigued. "I like that. I'm Jackson, by the way." He extended his hand and she took it, feeling an unexpected spark at the brief contact. "Elena." She introduced herself, suddenly aware of the lingering warmth of his grip. "What brings you to the lounge?" "Business, of course," he replied, a hint of sarcasm in his tone. "But it seems far more interesting to chat with you than to discuss quarterly earnings. So, what about you?" "I just got let go from my job," she confessed, the words slipping out before she could stop them. "So, I guess I'm looking for new opportunities, or at least a good cup of coffee." "Ah, the classic. I got fired, and now I'm contemplating my life choices move," he said, a playful grin stretching across his face. "I've been there. But don't let that stop you. It's often the best time for reinvention." Elena raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "And how would you know?" "There's a reason I'm in the lounge and not at my office," he said, his voice dropping a notch. "Sometimes the corporate world can be suffocating. I prefer the unpredictable chaos of life out here." "Life out here," she echoed, her curiosity piqued. "What's that like?" He leaned in, his tone conspiratorial. "Liberating, exhilarating, terrifying, all wrapped into one. It's where the real stories happen. You meet interesting people, like you," he added, a flicker of something deeper in his eyes. Elena felt heat creeping to her cheeks at the compliment. "Interesting, huh? I'll take that." "Good. Because I'm not letting you leave this lounge without sharing at least one remarkable story," he said, a teasing challenge in his voice. "Oh, I don't know if I'm that remarkable," she countered, folding her arms. "I'm just a girl trying to find her way in the world." "Then why not start by telling me about your adventures in the tech industry?" he prompted, genuinely intrigued. As she shared snippets of her previous job, the dialogue flowed easily, a rhythm that felt as natural as the beating of her heart. She told him about the excitement of building a startup, the thrill of brainstorming sessions, and the camaraderie she'd forged with her team. He listened intently, leaning closer, and she couldn't shake the feeling that he was genuinely interested. His laughter punctuated her stories, warming her from the inside out. For the first time in days, the burden she carried felt lighter. "Do you ever miss it?" he asked, his gaze steady, the laughter dimming as the conversation grew more sincere. "Sometimes," she admitted. "But I think it's more about missing the people than the work itself. It was a creative hub, you know. Now, it feels like a door has closed." "What if you could open another?" he suggested, his eyes sparkling with mischief again. "You could be the one to create something new. Something that really resonates with people." "Sounds great in theory," she replied, a hint of skepticism threading her voice. "But it's daunting, and I'm not sure where to start." "Start by making a list. List everything that excites you, your passions, your skills. You'll be surprised at what you find there," he encouraged, leaning back a bit but still holding her gaze. The tension between them crackled like electricity, the air thick with unspoken possibilities. Elena couldn't help but wonder if there was more to this man than met the eye, a depth that lay beneath his charming exterior. "Maybe I will," she said, a playful smile tugging at her lips. "Or maybe I'll just stick to sipping my coffee in lounges." "Now that sounds like a plan," he said, his tone laced with flirtation. "But I'd hate to see you limit yourself. Who knows? You might even surprise yourself." "What about you, Jackson?" she asked, curiosity igniting within her. "What do you do that's so liberating?" "Let's just say I dabble in various ventures," he replied cryptically, that smirk returning. "A little bit of this, a little bit of that. A true Renaissance man." "Very mysterious," she teased, raising an eyebrow. "I half expect you to be a spy or something equally thrilling." He chuckled, a rich timbre that sent a shiver down her spine. "If only my life were that exciting. But it's mostly boardrooms and negotiation tables. I just prefer to escape whenever I can. Life's too short, don't you think?" "Definitely," she agreed, feeling a kinship forming. "Maybe I should take a page from your book. Or maybe you could write your own," he suggested, leaning forward, their faces mere inches apart. The world outside faded into a blur as the intensity of the moment enveloped them. Elena's heart raced, a mix of nerves and thrill coursing through her. She could feel the unspoken connection between them, a magnetic pull that drew her closer. Just then, the lounge tranquility shattered as a group of loud travelers burst in, their laughter and chatter filling the air. The moment was broken, the tension dissipating like smoke in the wind. Elena pulled back slightly, a hint of disappointment swirling within her. "Well, it seems reality has returned," she said, a sheepish smile on her face. "Don't let them ruin our moment," Jackson said, his gaze unwavering. "But it's a reminder," she replied, her heart still racing. That life is unpredictable, just like this meeting. He studied her for a moment, and she could see the flicker of something in his gaze, an acknowledgement of the connection they'd forged, tainted. Elena took a deep breath, the ambient noise of the lounge wrapping around her like a comforting shroud. The moment with Jackson had felt electric, a connection that seemed to transcend the mundane world surrounding them. But now, with the intrusion of the raucous group, her heart felt heavier, the thrill of spontaneity dimming ever so slightly. As she glanced away, searching for a distraction, she caught sight of Jackson, who had leaned back in his chair, a bemused expression on his face. "You know, if you keep looking over there, you might just fall in love with the coffee machine," he teased, his eyes glinting with mischief. She smiled, the warmth returning to her cheeks. "I think it's a little too late for that. I've already committed to my latte." "Loyalty is a noble trait," he declared, raising his glass in mock salute. For a split second, the laughter from the other group faded, and it was just them, the air charged with possibilities. "Tell me, Jackson," she said, leaning in slightly. "Do you always interrupt moments of deep self-reflection with your charming banter?" "Only when the reflection seems like it could use a little jolt of humor." He flashed her a grin, and she found herself returning it, her heart fluttering in an unfamiliar way. "Besides, self-reflection can be overrated. Sometimes you just need a good laugh." "Fair point," she conceded, glancing down at her untouched latte, a swirl of emotions coursing through her. "But it's hard to laugh when everything feels like it's changing." "Change is merely a new plot twist," he responded, his voice turning serious for a moment. "Think of it as the universe writing you a new chapter. And who doesn't love a good plot twist?" Elena looked up, meeting his gaze, and in that moment, everything felt intensely personal. She wanted to share her fears, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she nodded slowly, appreciating his perspective. "Maybe you're right. It's daunting." He shifted forward, putting his glass down on the table, leaning closer as if to shield their conversation from the outside world. "What's daunting? The idea of change, or the prospect of starting fresh?" "Both, I guess," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's hard to see the possibilities when you're so focused on the void that's been left behind." Jackson studied her, his expression shifting from playful to contemplative. "The void is scary, yeah. But think of what could fill it. You could create something wonderful, something that reflects who you are now." "Who I am now," she echoed, her mind racing. "I feel like I'm still figuring that out." "Then why not explore it?" he suggested, a spark igniting in his hazel eyes. "You said you wanted to find inspiration. What if you turned it into your next project? Document your journey." "Document it?" she repeated, an eyebrow raised. "You mean like a blog?" "Exactly," he exclaimed, enthusiasm bubbling over. "But not just any blog. A journey of rediscovery, a heartfelt exploration of what it means to start over." "Interesting idea," she mused, feeling a flicker of excitement. "But what if I run out of things to say?" "Then write about the moments that inspire you, the people you meet," he encouraged, his eyes unwavering. "You'll find your voice if you let the world in." As he spoke, she felt a stirring of hope within her, a flicker of belief that perhaps she could navigate this new path. "And what about you?" she asked suddenly, curious about this man who had so easily struck a chord in her heart. "What inspires you?" Jackson paused, a thoughtful look crossing his face. "Honestly, people like you who are brave enough to confront their fears and step into the unknown." "Brave?" she repeated, a laugh escaping her lips. "I don't feel very brave right now." "Good," he countered, his expression earnest. "Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward despite it." "I've never thought about it that way," she admitted, feeling an unexpected warmth spread through her chest as their connection deepened. "Consider that your first insight," he said with a playful wink. But really, I think you're more capable than you give yourself credit for. Elena felt a rush of gratitude at his words, yet it was mingled with self-doubt. You hardly know me, she said, shaking her head. How can you be so sure? Because I can see it in your eyes, he replied, his voice dropping to a more intimate tone. You have a fire within you, a desire to create. It's just waiting to be unleashed. She felt her breath catch at his intensity, his confidence igniting something within her. And what about you, Jackson? You seem pretty self-assured, too. What keeps you going? He hesitated, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his face. I've had my share of failures, too. They taught me that success isn't a straight line. It's messy, unpredictable. Sounds like a story worth sharing, she suggested, intrigued. What was one of your biggest failures? Jackson leaned back slightly, his hazel eyes reflecting a mixture of amusement and contemplation. Let's just say I invested in a startup that was less than viable. Ah, she said, her interest piqued. What was the lesson there? Don't chase trends, he replied, a wry smile playing on his lips. Follow your gut instead. The best ventures come from passion, not from what's popular. Wise advice, she said, her heart racing as she realized how easy it was to talk to him. So what's your passion now? Right now? He asked, leaning closer again. Talking to you, but long term, I want to create spaces where creativity thrives, places where ideas can breathe. Sounds like a noble goal, she admired, caught between an urge to learn more about him and the undeniable chemistry simmering in the air. How do you plan to do that? By exploring? He replied simply, his gaze lingering on her lips for a heartbeat. By connecting with others, like you, and sharing stories that inspire action. Elena felt a thrill at the thought of being part of his inspiration. I'd love to hear more about your vision sometime. Then let's make that happen, he said, his voice low and inviting. We could exchange ideas over dinner. You know, to discuss your brilliant blog concept in more detail. Dinner, she echoed, surprised by the sudden leap from casual conversation to something more intimate. Unless you'd rather stick with coffee, he said, his smirk playful but his eyes serious. No, she stammered, suddenly aware of how deeply their conversation had drawn her in. Dinner sounds great. Perfect. Let's not let today be our only encounter, he said, the sincerity in his voice wrapping around her like a warm embrace. As they exchanged numbers, a rush of anticipation filled the space between them. I'll text you, he said, a charming wink punctuating his words. And you better be ready to share your remarkable story. I will, she promised, her resolve strengthening. And I expect to hear about your ventures as well, Mr. Renaissance Man. Deal, he replied, the tension crackling in the air as he leaned closer. But just so you know, I may require a little bit of inspiration myself. Elena met his gaze, her heart quickening as the chemistry between them simmered. Then I guess we'll have to inspire each other. Just as the moment grew thick with unspoken possibilities, the loud group at the entrance erupted into laughter once more, shattering their bubble. Jackson pulled back, the playful glint in his eyes softening into something more sincere. Looks like our moment was cut short again, he said, a hint of disappointment in his voice. Maybe it just means we need to create more moments, she suggested, feeling hopeful. Agreed, he replied, his smile returning. Just remember, Helene, a voyage of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. You're ready to embark. As the energy shifted back to a comfortable warmth, Elena couldn't help but feel a thrill of excitement. For the first time in days, she felt a glimmer of hope, a belief that perhaps Jackson was right. Change could lead to something beautiful, something that ignited her passion once more. Let's make our next chapter unforgettable, she said softly, a smile gracing her lips as Jackson's eyes sparkled with promise. Count on it, he assured her, their gazes holding as the evening air thickened with the possibility of what lay ahead. Elena nestled deeper into the plush chair, her latte now cold and forgotten on the table. The bustling airport lounge around her felt like a faraway planet, one where laughter and music intertwined in a symphony of cheer. Yet here she was, caught in a web of swirling emotions, each thread connecting her to the striking man across from her. Jackson leaned back, a casual elegance in his posture, but his eyes were anything but relaxed. There was an intensity in his gaze that made her stomach flutter and her heart race. "So, what's your plan, Elena, now that you're free from the shackles of your previous job?" She hesitated, feeling the weight of his inquiry. "I'm still figuring that out," she admitted, a slight tremor in her voice. "It's hard to envision a future when the past feels so unfinished." Jackson leaned in, a comforting presence that seemed to bridge the gap between their vulnerabilities. "Unfinished can be good. It means you still have the chance to shape your story. What's been holding you back?" The question hung in the air, heavy like the moment before a storm. "I guess fear of failure," she said, the honesty surprising even herself. "It's easy to get comfortable, even when you're unhappy." His expression softened, as if he understood her struggle on a personal level. Comfort is a double-edged sword. It can feel like safety, but it also keeps you from experiencing what life has to offer. She nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude for his insight. "You make it sound so easy." "I never said it was easy," he countered, a slight smirk pulling at his lips. "But it's worth it. Every risk, every leap into the unknown. It all leads to growth." Elena felt a spark of admiration for him, the way he spoke with such conviction. "You seem to have it all figured out." He chuckled, shaking his head. "Not even close. I've stumbled more times than I can count, but each stumble pushed me closer to my passions." "What are your passions?" she asked, genuinely curious. He paused, a flicker of vulnerability passing through his eyes. "I love creating environments where creativity can flourish, spaces where people can be their authentic selves." "Sounds amazing," she said softly, captivated by his enthusiasm. "Do you have any projects in the works?" "Several," he replied, leaning forward, his voice dropping conspiratorially. "But it wouldn't hurt to have a passionate partner to bounce ideas off of." Her heart skipped, the implication of his words sending a rush of warmth through her. "Are you suggesting I join you in your next venture?" "Why not?" he asked, his hazel eyes sparkling. "We could create something extraordinary together, if you're up for it." "Together," she echoed, the idea settling in her mind like a beautiful melody. "It's tempting." "Tempting is good," he said, leaning even closer, his voice lower. "It means we're on the right track." Elena felt a rush of exhilaration. "But what if I fail again? What if this is just another distraction?" "Then we'll stumble together," he said, his sincerity cutting through her doubts. "Failure isn't the end. It's just a step towards something better." She searched his face, feeling the weight of his words. "You really believe that?" "Absolutely," he replied with conviction. "Life is a collection of experiences, some beautiful, some painful. The key is to embrace them all." As they exchanged thoughts, the outside world faded into a blur. The laughter and conversations of the others felt distant, like echoes of a life that seemed less significant in the presence of Jackson. "Okay, you've convinced me," she said, a smile spreading across her face. "I'll give it a shot." "Great. Let's brainstorm over dinner then. I can share my ideas, and you can bring yours." "Dinner!" she repeated, her heart racing at the thought of spending more time with him. "I'd like that." Just then, her phone buzzed on the table, breaking the moment. She glanced at the screen, and her heart sank as she read a message from her former boss. "Urgent. We need to discuss your transition." "What's wrong?" Jackson asked, sensing her shift in mood. "It's my old job," she replied, her heart heavy. "They want to talk about my exit." "Do you have to take it?" he asked, concern etched on his face. She sighed, the reality of her situation settling in once more. I should. They'll want to go over the details. Then let's make it quick, he suggested, his expression firm yet gentle. You can't let them pull you back down. You have to keep moving forward. Elena nodded, feeling the determination in his words. You're right. I need to handle this and then focus on what's next. What if we met after your meeting? He proposed, a hopeful glimmer in his eyes. We can discuss all your fresh ideas then. Definitely, she agreed, feeling a renewed sense of excitement. I'd like that. Jackson grinned, a spark igniting in the air between them once more. I'll be here waiting, ready to help. Elena rose from her seat, her mind racing with possibilities. Thank you, Jackson. I appreciate your support. It's my pleasure, he replied, standing beside her. Just remember, every ending is just a new beginning. She paused, looking into his eyes, feeling a connection that transcended words. You have a way with encouragement. I believe in you, he said, sincerity radiating from him. And I want to see you succeed. Let's make the most of this. Their gazes held for a heartbeat longer, an unspoken promise of what was to come. With a reluctant smile, she turned to leave, her heart racing with anticipation. As she walked toward the exit, a part of her wanted to glance back, to soak in the moment they had just shared. But she resisted the urge, focusing instead on the path ahead, the conversation with her boss, the plunge into the unknown, and the dinner that awaited her later. The meeting turned out to be more draining than she anticipated. Her former boss's words felt like a weight on her chest, each explanation of the transition a reminder of what she had lost. We appreciate your hard work, Elena, but the decision is final. The tone was professional, but she sensed a current of disinterest beneath the surface. As she left the office, the world outside felt dimmer. The weight of uncertainty wrapped around her like a fog, shrouding the light that had been ignited during her earlier encounter. She pulled out her phone, glancing at the time. She had less than an hour until she was supposed to meet Jackson again. She texted him quickly, just finished the meeting. I'll be at the lounge soon. Cotton. His response was almost immediate. I can't wait. I have some exciting ideas to share. Oh, congratulations. She felt a flutter in her stomach, a mixture of nerves and excitement. Jackson had a way of igniting a spark of hope within her, and she was eager to see where their conversation would take them next. When she arrived at the lounge, she spotted him immediately. He was seated at a corner table, a glass of something amber resting beside him, the warm glow of the ambient lighting dancing off his features. The moment their eyes met, a smile broke across his face, igniting a warmth that spread through her entire being. Hey there, beautiful, he greeted, standing to pull out a chair for her. Thank you, Elena said, feeling a blush creep up her cheeks as she sat down. How was your day? Much better now, he replied, his gaze lingering on her. I've been brainstorming some ideas for you. Really? She asked, intrigued. What do you have in mind? Picture this, he said, leaning forward, the excitement evident in his voice. A blog that chronicles your journey, showcasing both the struggles and triumphs of starting fresh. It's real, relatable, and it can inspire others. Elena felt a rush of exhilaration at his enthusiasm. I love that idea. But what if I run out of things to say? Then we'll find inspiration together, he insisted, his eyes never leaving hers. You'll be surprised by the stories that unfold if you're open to them. The moment felt charged with possibilities, the chemistry between them palpable. That sounds like an adventure. An adventure worth taking, he said, tilting his glass toward her. To new beginnings. To new beginnings, she echoed, clinking her cup against his, feeling a sense of camaraderie blossoming between them. They spent hours discussing ideas, their conversation flowing effortlessly from topic to topic. With each shared idea, the connection between them deepened, an invisible thread weaving their lives together. As they wrapped up, Jackson leaned back in his chair, a satisfied grin on his face. I think we've found something special here. Definitely, Elena agreed, feeling exhilarated. I can't wait to see where. Elena tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation as she and Jackson exchanged glances across the table. The energy between them felt electric, a current that thrummed in the air, igniting an undeniable chemistry that was both thrilling and disorienting. So, what's next for the audacious Elena? He asked, his voice low and inviting, leaning forward just enough that she could catch the warm scent of his cologne, a mix of cedar and something earthy that made her pulse quicken. I guess I'll need to outline my vision, she replied, her mind racing with possibilities. Maybe I should start with the core message, something relatable, something that speaks to the struggles of starting over. Exactly, he nodded, his expression encouraging. And don't forget to weave in a bit of your personality. People connect with authenticity. Elena felt a rush of gratitude for his support, but doubt crept in at the edges of her mind. But what if they don't connect? Then you keep writing until you find your voice, he said, his hazel eyes steady. Don't let fear stifle you. Embrace the uncertainty. It's part of the journey. She absorbed his words, her breath hitching slightly at the intensity of his gaze. You really believe that, don't you? Absolutely, he replied, leaning back but still maintaining eye contact. Life isn't about avoiding failure. It's about learning from it and growing stronger. Elena nodded, feeling the warmth of his conviction seep into her. But in the back of her mind, a nagging voice whispered of her past failures. I wish I had your confidence. He shook his head, a playful smile dancing on his lips. I might look confident, but believe me, I have my moments of doubt too. It's all part of the package. Really? You seem so put together, she said, surprised. Like you have everything figured out. Looks can be deceiving. He murmured, a hint of vulnerability creeping into his tone. I've had my fair share of setbacks. It's how you bounce back that defines you. His honesty struck a chord deep within her, and she found herself wanting to know more. What was your biggest setback? He hesitated, his expression shifting as if contemplating how much to reveal. There's a time when I thought I had a surefire investment, only to watch it crumble. It was humbling to say the least. What did you learn from that? Elena asked, genuinely curious about the man sitting across from her. He paused, the playful spark in his eyes dimming for a moment. That sometimes the most promising paths can lead to dead ends, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you stop exploring. I love that perspective, she said, her heart swelling with admiration. It's refreshing to hear someone talk about their failures so openly. He smiled, a flicker of warmth returning to his gaze. We're all a work in progress, Elena. You're not alone in feeling uncertain. Just then, the sound of laughter erupted from a nearby table. A group of well-dressed travelers had entered the lounge, their exuberance filling the space with a sense of camaraderie. Without realizing it, Elena found herself glancing over at the group, the laughter a stark contrast to the deeper conversation she and Jackson were having. Do you think they're here for business or pleasure? She mused, trying to shift her focus back to Jackson. Probably a bit of both, he replied, his attention still on her. But let's not get distracted. We're onto something good here. Elena felt a flutter in her stomach at his unwavering focus, drawing her back into their shared moment. Right. So, we were discussing the best way to approach my blog. Right. I think you should also include some of your personal anecdotes, he suggested, leaning closer as if sharing a secret. Those moments that felt like they could break you but didn't. Elena felt her breath catch. You mean like my last job? Exactly. She shifted uncomfortably, recalling the sting of her boss's words. I'm still processing that. It feels raw. Then write about it while it's still fresh, Jackson encouraged, his voice earnest. People need to read about the real struggles, the moments where you feel lost. That's what makes the journey relatable. But what if it's too personal? She questioned, biting her lip. What if they judge my vulnerability? Let them, he replied, his expression fierce. Vulnerability is strength. It shows you're human. Elena felt a swell of gratitude. You make it sound so easy. Trust me, it's not, he admitted, his gaze softening. But it's worth it if it helps someone else feel less alone. They sat in silence for a moment, the bustle of the lounge fading into the background. Elena could feel the weight of his words wrapping around her, a comforting reminder that there was strength in vulnerability. "What about you?" she asked suddenly. "What's something you've struggled with?" Jackson paused, his expression shifting to one of introspection. "My upbringing wasn't exactly stable. I learned early on that success didn't come easy." "Where did you grow up?" she inquired, drawn in by his honesty. "A small town, far from the glitz and glamour of the city," he replied, a hint of nostalgia in his voice. "I always dreamed of more, and it took a lot of work to break free from the expectations set for me." "Your drive is inspiring," she said, feeling a deeper connection to him. "You turned your struggles into something powerful." "Just like you can," he replied, his gaze locking onto hers. "Remember, every great story has its challenges." The moment hung between them, thick with unspoken possibilities. Elena felt her heart race, the chemistry growing palpable, an uncharted territory filled with excitement and tension. "Do you believe in fate?" she asked, curiosity bubbling up. "I believe in serendipity," he replied, a smile tugging at his lips. "Life has a funny way of guiding us to where we need to be." Elena pondered his words, her mind racing with possibilities. "So, you think our meeting was meant to be?" "Maybe," he said, his tone light yet sincere. "Or maybe we just took a chance on each other. Either way, I'm grateful," she admitted, feeling a rush of warmth. "This evening has been a breath of fresh air." "It's only the beginning," he said, leaning closer. "And I think we have something special brewing here." Elena's heart fluttered as their eyes locked, the air thick with unspoken tension. "What do you mean by something special?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He paused, his expression turning serious, the warmth of the moment shifting. "I mean the connection we have. It feels different, doesn't it?" "It does," she confessed, her heart pounding in her chest. "There's something about you that feels familiar." "Familiar or intoxicating?" he teased, a playful glint returning to his eye. "Maybe a bit of both," she replied, a smile tugging at her lips, her heart racing at the flirtation. "Then let's explore it," he said, his voice low and inviting. "What do you say?" As the warmth pooled between them, Elena felt a rush of anticipation. She wanted to lean into the moment, to embrace the chemistry crackling in the air. Let's see where this takes us." "Perfect," he said, his gaze intense. "I'm looking forward to our next adventure." Their eyes held for a heartbeat longer, the world around them fading into the background. The thrill of possibility enveloped her, igniting a spark of hope that perhaps this was the start of something beautiful. An unexpected journey of rediscovery where they could inspire each other to embrace the unknown. Overwhelmed with emotion, Elena felt the weight of the night settling on her shoulders, a reminder that life was full of twists and turns. Yet, for the first time in a long time, she felt ready to face them head-on. In a world that had once felt so confining, she was beginning to realize that perhaps change was the key to unlocking her true potential. "Let's make it unforgettable," she said softly, a smile playing on her lips as Jackson mirrored her expression. "Count on it," he assured her, their gazes locked in an unspoken promise of what lay ahead. As they settled into the evening, Elena knew that whatever happened next, she was ready to embrace it, together.